can't learn the same way little girls learn at a very young age. And we're overdiagnosing little boys with behavioral problems and ADHD, and a lot of that has to do with forcing them into situations that are not good for them, meaning little boys have a lot of testosterone between the ages of 3 and 6, which means they need to run around a lot, and between learning they need to have a lot of physical activity, and we're making them sit in circle time, and we're restraining them in a way that's causing them to feel a great deal of stress with very high levels of cortisol, which makes them seem distractible, and then they're diagnosed as being problems in the classroom. And so it's not that, I mean, we're really failing little boys. It's not that there's something wrong with them. There's something wrong with the way we teach them.
Very interesting.
Absolutely.
See,
That's good.
so yeah. All right, Bishop, you back?
Yeah, I'm back, man. I'm not sure how long I will be back, but I want y'all to go ahead and continue. Make sure that
Okay.
we finish this on out, especially with that next topic, which is churches and men. But we
Okay.
do have to do better with our little boys. Some people learn by hearing. That's why they say, "Oh, I hear you. I hear you." Some people learn by visual. Why they say, "Oh, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying." Some people learn by touch, and that's why they say, "Oh, I feel you. I feel you." And so we need to
Yeah, that's
That's
learn.
good.
good.
We need to
That's
learn
good.
what the differences is. Some of our little boys, they've learned by touch. They had mommies that always touch them and touch them on their shoulder. Say, "Are you okay? Are you all right?" And so you have
That's
these
good
little
though.
boys in class and they're not paying attention. They might just need you to walk by and touch them on the shoulder, say, "Hey, are you okay?"
Mm-hmm.
And that'll boom,
Mm-hmm.
that'll bring them back to reality. Or sometimes you teach them auditory where they have to hear things, but they're visual and you need to show it to them. And so we need to find out what learning styles our men have and stop teaching and training our little boys like they're little girls, because you can't teach them like that. That's all I got to say. Go ahead,
This
y'all.
this is true. Um, okay, what you got, Ed?
I would say from the last subject leading into this subject, the father is very important to the child. Um, the father uh, gives the child, and I'm going to get to the video. I know I'm kind of off the subject a little bit, but it's Father's Day month, so I just wanted to just talk about the father, how important the father is to the child, just for a second. The father is very important to the child. The father gives affirmation. I just had this conversation with a friend of mine the other day, and just telling him because he bought my book, and he was telling me how touching the book was or whatever, as far as like just realizing some things about a father. And I told him, I was like, yeah, I needed affirmations throughout my life. I had a hard road. It was a hard climb up to learn what I know now. And yes, God placed certain men in my life at certain times. He was very strategic with the men that he placed in my life, which helped me through school and helped me through all of this. So I understand exactly what the lady is saying, and as well as you, Joseph, because you have to understand what the style of the child is. What helps them learn? Touching them on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm saying." You know what I'm saying? Just that touch alone brings them into what you're saying. We have to learn how to bring our children into, like, command their focus. Like when I'm giving drum lessons, this is a prime example. I asked the parent how old their child is. They tell me how old their child is, and it's like, "So what do you charge for a 45-minute lesson?" I'd be like, "Ma'am, I could charge you for a 45-minute lesson and sit there with your child for 45 minutes, but he's not going to listen to me past 15 minutes. He's just not. So let's do a 15-minute lesson, and I can go over some stuff with him after we, do the lesson to make sure he understood." But it's just understanding the child and knowing what style they gravitate to, what reels them in to understand and learn what you're trying to teach them. Like, because I mean, our children are not stupid. Our children are not problems or whatever. Some children may be busy. Like in school, believe it or not, I'm a professional drummer. I would finish my work mad earlier than everybody else in class and spend the rest of the class doing this. My teacher would send me to the principal's office for disrupting the class. I wasn't doing it intentional. My mom came up there and be like, okay, he's into drums and this is, and my mom would sit down and talk to me like, son, you cannot do that. They're thinking that you're being disruptive on purpose. They don't understand that you have this talent of drums, and that's all you hear in your head all the time. You're doing your work, but you're disrupting other kids that, you know what I'm saying? So I had to learn to reel that in or whatever. But yeah, our children are not stupid. Our children are very bright. Our children are not dyslexic. They get diagnosed and called things and labeled with things at a young age, and they grow up believing that stuff about themselves. So when they get older, they don't have, and that's where the father comes in. That's why the father is very important. No, son, you're not this way. I don't care what that teacher said. That's not you. You are my son. This is who you are. And we need fathers speaking into our children's lives and speaking that positive stuff into their life and leading them to be able to do it for their children as well. I'll stop right there.
Well, I'm gonna speak to that point just for a split second, just to say, it's a reason why mothers and fathers are supposed to raise the children. The reason why mothers and fathers are supposed to raise their children in a household together is because that child is 50% him and 50% her. And probably have a combination of their two personalities. And being as though they were their children, as they were growing up, mom knows the problems that she had and that she encountered growing up, and dad knows the problems and issues he encountered growing up. And they both have solutions to their children's problems because they've experienced either being called autistic or being labeled autistic and probably wasn't, being labeled as hyper, being labeled as a distraction, ADHD or whatever. Well, because the father has been there, the mother has been there and experienced those situations, they know how to help their children navigate.
Absolutely.
And if you're not there to assist in the navigation process of the same problem you had when you was a kid,
right?
Then you know what I'm saying? You had a skin problem growing up. Guess what? Your child probably gonna have the same skin problem. They're gonna have the same. They're gonna have the same acne. They're gonna have the same. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna have the same issue. They're gonna have the same feet problems that you had. Your feet was stanky. Growing up, you knew your feet stunk up the whole house. And you gonna act like your children finna grow up and at 16, like his feet ain't finna smell like corn chips. You know they finna smell. Right. And you know what? Somebody gave you the solution of good old bleach or vinegar bath or something like that. Whatever the case was, guess what? Somebody helped you navigate through that. Your parents